Okay, so let's start with the first question that I see appears in the chat box. The What a good important example of a trade-off. So trade-off in business economics. Basically, trade-off is a concept we call opportunity cost, and it happens when you are basically choosing something against something else. And in that sense, you are basically trading something for something. So let's say when there's a product or service that you're purchasing or buying, you are taking that product, and when you trade it off for something else, means that instead of taking that certain product, let's say there are two products, let's say milk and soy milk, regular milk, soy milk. So instead of buying the milk, you buy the soy milk. So you're trading it off, and basically it's just instead of buying one particular product or service, you take another particular product or service. You're welcome, sir. So what is the next question that you guys have? Okay, process theory of leadership and traits theory of leadership. There are two aspects of leadership that we are examining, and like different ways and methods of looking at leadership. One is process theory and traits theory. So basically, process theory is dealing with the process that is involved in leadership, and in traits theory is basically dealing with the particular aspects or you know, particular parts of leadership that one will utilize when they are doing the leadership. So basically, the major difference between process theory and trace theory is the process theory will dig deeper into the process that happens when a leader is leading, and the process of leadership to take place. Whereas for traits theory is more of looking into the attitudes and behavior of a leader and just examining every single attitude by themselves and just getting a whole picture from examining the behaviors and attitudes and attributes of the leaders. Yes, like let's say a successful leader probably involves people in different decision-making steps. So let's say a successful company, they take a successful company and a successful leader, and you will examine what that certain successful leader has been doing. So their practices would be a good way, I mean, looking at their practices is a good way of understanding how their leadership works, and then from there you will move on to the leadership practices. Give me a second, please. Okay. So let's uh, let's have your next question. Uh, we have this question that doesn't matter the way the the leader how they dress. It actually it's not a naive question. It's a very good question. Absolutely, it matters. Leaders should lead the way in every single aspect. So the way they dress will set a tone for the rest of the company. If, let's say, if it's a formal company, the leader should absolutely be dressed formally and very uh, properly. So it it shows how professional the leader is. So, and sometimes leaders who work in industries or different type of organization that address something that is appropriate for the type of industry they work for. So it absolutely shows that they're following the same dress code. So that sort of gives the employees of the company the idea that basically the leader is no different from them and is one of the team members. So it absolutely matters. Okay. So we have this question that uh, what are the main causes of market failure from business aspect? So market failure happens when uh, different aspects of parts of economics do not work together or do not basically comply with each other. So from a business aspect, you have the different ingredients and parts of the market, which is the demand, market supply, and basically how uh, they work together. So market failure happens when like each of these and the response that they get will not match each other, and there would be like, especially when the equilibrium in the market happens, is when the market has been able to adjust to the differences in demand and supply, and when the market fails is when the market fails to respond to one of these aspects, which is the demand or the supply, or they are at different levels, and for them to adjust according to the level of demand and supply, it will take some time. So that will cause a failure in the market. So the there are also other uh, aspects to that, which is uh, efficiency in market, and the consumer surplus, and also price in that regard would be important when the market is going to be uh, competitive and efficient. So that will also cause that for, give me a second. Hello? Okay. So let's have the next question. Doesn't mean that you have the ability to influence authority, business, or situation. When followers openly or secretly compete you in position. Okay. Uh, Actually, that is a very important question. When you are a leader, it absolutely might happen that other people in the company try to compete with you and show that they could be a better fit for your position. So uh, for you to be able to professionally lead the company, you are not to use your authority necessarily to show them that you are the boss. All it takes is, first of all, you need to clarify your position and your roles, and you should be able to master those roles and be able to lead the way in whatever aspect that you're leading. But that certain person that is trying to uh, probably challenge your authority, you need to definitely use different methods in leadership to clarify that your position entails like what sort of roles. And one of the best ways to deal with such a situation is to involve that person in decision making. So participative leadership is a very good fit for such a situation. There are times that the leader might be young compared to other team members, and the other team members might be much more experienced, and they have had a long uh, career life with the company, so they know a lot. So by involving them, asking for their opinion and their experience and their advice, they feel respected and they feel part of the decision-making process. That helps them to like connect with you and help you instead of challenge you along the line. So the reason that you're chosen as a leader could be because of certain great performance that you had, or certain things that you did, that those impressions that you made on the management team, they decided to have you as a leader. So definitely you have those qualities, but there are other parts of a leader that could always improve. So you might be a great leader, you might be very knowledgeable, but you lack like certain level of experience, and that you could use those others who are challenging you, and by involving them, and as long as they know that you acknowledge their experience, that helps them uh, to connect with you and help you instead of challenging you. I hope that I could answer your question, Mr. Rafa. Okay, let's have the next question. Yes, absolutely, it's a requirement to become more efficient. Okay, so the next question from Mr. Akmal is, water is necessary for life. Is marginal benefit of glass of water large or small? Yes, if you remember when we were discussing the different type of products, we have these type of products like water that are a necessity for life. So we said like a diamond, one piece of diamond and water. We talked about the concept that water, one glass of water, when you have it, it will satisfy your need. But the second glass will not add that much marginal benefit to your uh, the benefit you get from consuming the glass of water. Whereas another piece of diamond, it has a huge marginal benefit. So by adding one other uh, diamond, you will gain a huge marginal benefit. So in that sense, the marginal benefit for water is pretty small. Sure, no problem. Okay, let's have the next question. So what is the next question that you have? Okay. So for inflation, if you remember, we have the real price and nominal price. So basically, uh, the real price is the price of a product when it's introduced to the market. So the first year, the price could be, let's say, for a certain utensil, it might be $10. So the first year, the second year, the third year, it should be $10. So the difference that will be added the coming years to the price of that same utensil is called inflation. So inflation is caused because a lot of things like the interest rate, like the demand and supply, and basically a lot of it is with regard to supply. When you have less level of supply, uh, then it will create an extra demand, and that extra demand could cause certain level of inflation. And at the same time, it's also about the economy, the market. So when we don't have the equilibrium, basically, as I discussed, it will cause inflation. Or when basically we have certain major problems with the economy, like the GDP and unemployment, are also influencing the inflation. And basically, the global economy also is influencing inflation. Sometimes, like the oil prices, the interest rates, all together will cause and create certain level of inflation. The government comes in and interplay with the economy when they think they want to try to fix a problem. So the response that the government, they basically try to fix and adjust the market by introducing uh, a certain level of inflation to the market to try to adjust uh, unemployment. The unemployment and inflation are related to each other in the sense that when you have unemployment, uh, the, the bargaining power or the power of the customers or the tentative customers will be reduced. So they would not be able to respond uh, to the supply at the level that it exists. So that sort of creates a hypermarket where a lot of customers are not able to afford even the regular prices. but because they're not producing, it's like if you remember, the ideal market is where the production and consumption should equate each other. But when certain part of the market, which is the workforce, the labor, is not producing what they're supposed to produce and they're out of work, so that will change the whole equation and cause us some inflation for the market, because certain part of the market that should produce labor and workforce is not productive, and because of that, it will cause a kind of change into the equation, and that labor which is missing will change the equilibrium of the market and causes inflation. So that's what happens in the short run and probably the long run. Okay, what is your next question? Okay. So if you don't have any question, let me ask a question. So how do you think you could use business economics and all these concepts that we study in your normal career? How do you find it useful? How do you find business economics useful, and how could you practice all these concepts into your normal career? What is your understanding of the usefulness of business economics in your life and your career? So I'd like to hear your answers to that question. Do you guys hear my question? My question was, how would you apply the business economics concept into your career? Does anybody wants to answer the question? Can everybody hear me? Can everybody hear my voice? Okay, so would you like to answer the question, Mr. Akmal? So what are the usefulness or practicalities of business economics in your everyday career life? How do you find it practical and useful? Would you like to answer the question, Mr. Akmal? Okay, very good, Mr. Rafa. So, okay. So, yes, conceptualizing the methods and then practically using it, pricing, okay, yeah. How all these will relate to your production or different levels of production, and understanding the market probably would be very useful. Business economics will help you to understand how the market works, what are different aspects of the market and how they interact with each other and create changes. So basically understanding the market, and you will be able to understand your role in the market is very useful factor. I'd like to implement on business practices. Major principle. Focuses on finding. Yeah, very good, Mr. Barak. Yes, uh, the managerial level and um, also principles of economics. So, if you followed the course through the sessions, you'll understand that first we talk about microeconomics. So microeconomics is how different parts of economics and how individuals are using in the market, they're using the economics and they're influenced by economics. And then by macro was how the whole market works. So basically, we try to examine the market by the individual aspects and then try to get an overall picture of the whole market economy. So basically, we try to capture both sides so that you have some certain level of understanding of individual level and market as a whole. So in both ways, it will help to understand the market for the macro and from micro. It will help you to understand individuals' needs and how it works and how it interacts in the market. So you will be able to utilize both of them in the market and in your company. Okay, so outside of study, most primary understanding of the effects of financial actions and actions, individual institutions. Yes, very good. Also, it's very true uh, by understanding the business economics, you could be able to predict what's going to happen next in the market. So that is very true and it's very important. So the general concept of scarcity, economics, efficiency, equity, opportunity cost. Yeah, that is also true. All these different concepts will help you to probably understand the market, try to analyze the market and the market situation, and then from that analysis, you'll be able to get an understanding of what is coming next for the market in the future. So that basically helps you to get a picture, a clear picture of what's exactly happening in the market. Does one's race, I think, can be a source of power in a leadership position? Uh, this is a very subjective question. There should be research so that the 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 leaders, if you remember, leadership is not necessarily something intuitive. It's like two different aspects of leadership. There's a major line in leadership theory that they say leadership is earned. It's not necessarily something that you're born with. So that level, that certain concept of race and leadership, that certain race is pioneering leadership, is not necessarily true because it has a lot with the subjectivity of people and how people will look at things, and it's not basically true. And I believe leadership is most successful and efficient and effective when somebody is well-rounded and well-trained and educated about leadership and has got the required experience to be the leader. So it doesn't necessarily provide us with any positive relationship between race and leadership. But there could be researchers done, people doing their theses and research projects on the effect of race on certain things or certain uh, variables. And basically, in most of the researchers, they try to use the demographics of the respondents also and do some analysis to see if there are any relationship in every single research that is conducted. But mm, the Japanese have been good example of leading, and it's mostly about the culture and attitude and behavior that they have. It's not necessarily because of the race, it's because they have been very cooperative and they have been really working hard to make it work, or like German people, or like a lot of different aspects or different parts of the world. You see that the success comes only when certain attributes of leadership and certain principles of leadership is utilized or acknowledged and practice, so that will end in a successful leadership. So if you see in all over the world, you'll see leadership booming or sometimes stopping to boom, and that is only because of the practices of the individuals or the economy of that certain country. So I would say that a fair answer to that question is not necessarily. I would say it's more of the attributes and the processes of the leadership, and if they are practiced correctly, they will end in success. Very good. Thank you, Mr. Akmal, for sharing your your understanding of business economics. How about leadership? How do you think leadership concepts that we studied are going to help us? How do you think leadership concepts help us? Well, yeah, that is correct. It's very useful to. This is basically a use of business economics. Uh, that like that $100. Very true. Basically, economics will give you some idea of how every single practice or event in life could be looked at as an economic event, and wherever there is money spending or buying, so you would be able to analyze it instead of just doing it without the necessarily understanding the circumstances of taking the action that you're taking. Very true. So understanding the followers also, and understanding your roles and be able to clarify them and be able to communicate your leadership roles to the followers is also very helpful. When you're assuming a leadership position, you want to make sure that you are able to role play as a leader. So all these different practices that we learned during the course will help us and equip us to be able to communicate and be able to communicate effectively and efficiently with our followers or team members or peers. I have a question, Mr. Ahmadi, but is deflation has some percent of money? Yes, it does. Basically, inflation, in a sense, it actually decreases unemployment, and deflation, it actually uh, increases. So inflation is actually when the prices go higher, and deflation is when they go lower. And the reason is that people, when they are unemployed, they won't be able to afford uh, the, uh, the prices, and what they will do, they will take on jobs that they wouldn't take in a normal situation. So it will boost, it's like a short run, but in the long run, it might change. So, and then we have this question of who can we call a leader, what are the categories of leadership. So basically, a leader, we had this concept of everybody being a leader. So everybody could role play as a leader. So categories of leadership, there are different types of categories of leadership. We have participative leadership, we have telling leadership, we have uh, change or transformational leadership. So depends on all different categories of leadership. What you have is a certain person is taking the lead and trying to communicate to other people who are following your or the team members, and try to help them follow him, and try to make a group project a success. Well, at different times, different types of leadership have been successful. But nowadays, people use hybrid leadership, which is an amalgamation of all these different types of leadership that have been practiced. But the most rewarded and attributed and well-respected types of leadership are participative leadership, that everybody participates in leadership, or transformational leadership, that where you bring changes, and your leadership is undertaking and actually speedifying and enforcing changes through the process. And so you do change management, you try to use a hybrid approach. So it all depends on the type of context also. Sometimes in certain contexts you've got to be authoritative, because otherwise your peers will not take you seriously. Sometimes you got to involve them in your decision making. So at different contexts, you will use all these different aspects of leadership when you see fit. But generally, the type of leadership that we want to have ideally is participative leadership, where everyone in the company is involved in the decision-making process, and everybody is part of the whole process. So ideally, I would say participative leadership is one of the most, well-acknowledged types of leadership. That is true. Where you are, which company you are, what is your corporate culture, your those are all these different, and where your company stands. If you are through the tough times, you probably want to be a more aggressive leader in order to create some change and introduce some change to the company. So in order to do that, you got to be more aggressive. So that is also very true. The responsibilities of a leader to followers, basically, as a leader, the moment you take the leader role in a company, you're basically accepting uh, the responsibility of the whole situation. So, in a sense, uh, for failure of any single employee, the person who is basically responsible is the leader. So there are many leaders who try to blame the employees or their followers for their failure, but basically what the ideal situation is, the leader is the one who is responsible for the success of the whole team. So if you think that the team is not succeeding or getting where they want to get, they absolutely need a better leader. So, or if you are the leader, you need to do a better leadership. You got to be able to coach people up and build them up and try to show them the way and try to make it work. So as a leader, your major responsibility is to make it work, not to try to blame others. So you should start from yourself and try to communicate it to all the employees and try to get them involved in the process. So that will be my response to the responsibilities. So, so some of you have a question that what are the leader traps. So some of the leader traps that I could think of is trying to squeeze your employees, trying to be pushing them and trying to bullying them, then like failing to engage your employees or try to avoid the issues and the problems and uh, trying to just get away and not to do the right thing. Uh, the Steve Jobs was not hated by most of his employees. It's basically, if you do a research, there was a book published I'm reading about Steve Jobs, and there are many different people who were involved in his business, and not all his employees hated him. So uh, he had some issues with some employees, but not at all the employees hated him. But what our assignment is basically focusing on his role as a leader and how he succeeded and made the company succeed. So, and if you can also discuss those shortcomings that he has, this is really good. So before we end the Q&A, I want to also mention something about your final exam. The I decided, instead of giving you the final exam in a session, I give you the questions like another assignment. So you'll have to give it back to me by the end of by next week, same like so next Sunday. So I'll email you these questions, like the in the form of the questions by tomorrow, and you will have to email them back to me by next week. So your leadership and business economics, I'll send you the questions, and you could email them back to me by next Sunday. So that will be your deadline for these like case scenarios that I will give you, and then for the assignment that I already given you, it will be the week after, because you're not going to have a multiple choice exam. You're going to have an open-ended question. So I'd rather give it to you like a case. So you can use your book, and it's an open book. You can just study that and answer it for me. Each question you got to answer no more than 2 pages. So the maximum of answers for any question that I give you is maximum of 2 pages. So you have 4 obligatory questions, and those 4 questions, so you shouldn't give me more than 8 pages for those 4 questions. And I give you some bonus questions also, and for those questions you would also not provide anything more than 2 pages for the answer. Okay. Are there any other questions or comments before we end the session? The assignment that you should submit first is this one that I'm going to email you tomorrow. So this is what you submit, and your previous assignment is due the week after. So you have 2 assignments. One is these number of questions that I'll send you, and you will respond by next Sunday. And the previous assignment I gave you, it has 2 weeks. So the week after, you'll give me that assignment. That would be maximum of 10 pages. So for your previous assignment, the maximum of the number of pages you can give me is 10 pages, but for this one is like bunch of questions, and for each question you could go up to 2 pages. Okay. Are there any questions? Oh, thank you so much, Mr. Barak. Thank you, everyone, for your great participation in the class. I really enjoyed, and I hope you'll be able to utilize all these concepts that we discussed in the class, and practically, I hope they help you benefit and enjoy being equipped with all these tools, I would say, in order to be more successful in your career and life wherever you are. And thank you, everyone, and I hope you will have a great week ahead, and try to work on your assignments, and make sure that you don't miss the deadlines, please. If you can submit them within the specified time, I would really appreciate it. It's really important not to miss the deadlines. And I'll see you in the next semester for our new courses. So if you have any other question, you can always email me, as you have my email. I'll put it down here again just in case. You can always email me any questions that you have or any concern. And I wish you a great week. Very good. That's awesome. Okay, everyone. So let's have a great week ahead, and all the best to all of you. Thank you.